Have you ever felt a pair of eyes watching you from the corner of a dark room, only to turn on the light and find absolutely nothing there? For 15 years, I thought I was just an imaginative kid with a lingering fear of the dark, but last night I found out that the ghost I've been talking to since I was 6 years old wasn't a spirit, and he certainly wasn't imaginary. My name is Maya, and I'm 21 now, back home for the summer from university. My parents live in one of those old Victorian houses in rural Pennsylvania, the kind with creaky floorboards, hidden nooks, and walls that seem to breathe when the wind hits the siding just right. Growing up, I had an imaginary friend named Mr. Stripes. I told my mom he lived in my closet and wore a black and white sweater. She used to laugh and say it was just my mind processing the shadows from the hallway light. But as I got older, the feeling of being watched didn't go away. It evolved into a heavy, suffocating pressure whenever I stepped into my bedroom alone. 3 nights ago, the heat wave hit and our old AC unit gave up the ghost. I couldn't sleep, so I was lying on top of my covers, staring at the ceiling fan, when I heard a distinct metallic click coming from inside my walk-in closet. Now, this closet is deep. It runs behind the wall of the guest bathroom, and it's always been colder than the rest of the room. I sat up, my heart doing a frantic tap dance against my ribs, and whispered, "Mom." No answer, just the sound of someone or something shifting their weight behind the hanging dresses. I grabbed my phone, turned on the flashlight, and swung the closet door open. Empty, just my old hoodies and a stack of storage bins. But then I noticed something that made my stomach lurch. My favorite oversized sweatshirt, the one I'd left on a hanger that morning, was lying crumpled on the floor, and it was warm. I didn't tell my parents right away because I didn't want them to think I was having some kind of mental breakdown, but the next day I started investigating. I pulled everything out of that closet, every shoebox, every winter coat, every forgotten toy. When I reached the back wall, I noticed the baseboard was slightly misaligned. I pried it back with a screwdriver, expecting to find a mouse hole or some dry rot. Instead, I found a hinge. A tiny, well-oiled hinge hidden behind the wood. I pushed on the drywall panel, and it swung inward with a sickeningly smooth silence, revealing a narrow crawl space that smelled of stale crackers and unwashed skin. My breath hitched as I crawled inside, the beam of my flashlight shaking in my hand. The space was barely 3 feet wide, but it stretched the entire length of the house's structure. There was a sleeping bag, a stack of my old high school yearbooks with my face circled in red ink, and a small, battery-powered monitor. But the thing that made me vomit right there on the floor was the viewing ports. Someone had drilled tiny, pin-sized holes through the drywall at eye level, one looking directly onto my bed, one into my en-suite shower, and one into my vanity mirror. I wasn't looking at a closet, I was looking at a human observation deck. And resting on the sleeping bag was a black and white striped sweater, the exact one I described to my mother when I was 6 years old. He hadn't just been there recently, he had been there my entire life. I scrambled out of the crawl space, screaming for my dad, but as I burst into the hallway, I saw the front door standing wide open. My parents were in the backyard gardening, completely oblivious. I ran to the kitchen window and saw a man, gaunt, pale, and moving with a terrifying, spider-like agility, sprinting toward the woods at the edge of our property. He didn't look back, but he was carrying a small backpack that I recognized instantly. It was my old middle school bag. The police arrived 20 minutes later, and what they found in that crawl space will haunt me until the day I die. They found a calendar scratched into the wooden studs of the house, dating back nearly 20 years. He had been living in the walls since before I was born, the most disturbing part. The police found a spare set of our house keys and a notebook filled with our daily schedules, when my dad went to work, when my mom went grocery shopping, and exactly what time I usually turned off my lights. But the twist that truly broke me came during the forensic sweep. They found a second crawl space behind my parents' headboard. It wasn't just a random squatter, it was my Uncle David, a man my parents had hired as a contractor to renovate the house 2 decades ago and who had supposedly moved to California shortly after. He never left. He had built himself a kingdom inside our home, watching us grow, eat, and sleep for 20 years. He's still missing, and every time I hear a floorboard creak in a quiet room, I wonder if he's just found a new set of walls to call home.